Where does it say? Oh, okay, it's up top.
According to
So
this.
no self-grooming or anything now?
Correct, no nose picking.
That's not what I was thinking. I mean, anyway.
All right, howdy everybody, and welcome to this week, numero 31. So this week we are going to be reading from Deuteronomy chapter 21, starting at verse 10, all the way through Deuteronomy 25, verse 19, and then we're going to read, we, meaning Gwen, is going to read Isaiah 54, verses 1 through 10, and then we'll read Matthew 24, verses 29 through 42. So anyways, I'm sorry. Howdy, Landon. Howdy, Gwen.
What's up?
With the Morgan.
And so we'll have to figure that out. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so I'll read 21 and 22 to start, and then Gwen read 23. Landon do 24. I'll read 25, and then Gwen, you can read Isaiah, and then Landon, you round us out, if you would.
Yes, sir.
Everyone's like, what? Okay, I'm going to pray us in, if you don't mind.
Please.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this opportunity to study your word and to fellowship with one another. The wonderful blessing, because where two or three of us are gathered in your name, there are you in the midst of us also. So we appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to guide us today. And we thank you for that. Please give everyone your spirit of understanding and knowledge so that we get the most out of this reading this week. And we appreciate that. Thank you. In Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let me get this party started. And we are Deuteronomy 21, starting at verse 10. Okay. When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God gives them into your hand, and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire to take her to be your wife, and you bring her home to your house, she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall take off the clothes in which she was captured, and shall remain in your house and lament her father and her mother a full month. After that, you may go in to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. But if you no longer delight in her, you shall let her go where she wants. But you shall not sell her for money, nor shall you treat her as a slave, since you have humiliated her. If a man has two wives, the one loved and the other unloved, and both the loved and the unloved have borne him children, and if the firstborn son belongs to the unloved, then on the day when he assigns his possessions as an inheritance to his sons, he may not treat the son of the loved as the firstborn in preference to the son of the unloved who is the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the first fruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. Verse 18. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and, though they discipline him, will not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city at the gate of the place where he lives, and they shall say to the elders of his city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with stones. So you shall purge the evil from your midst, and all Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man has committed a crime punishable by death, and he is put to death, and you hang him on a tree, His body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall bury him the same day. For a hanged man is cursed by God. You shall not defile your land the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance. Chapter 22. You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and ignore them. You shall take them back to your brother. And if he does not live near you and you do not know who he is, you shall bring it home to your house, and it shall stay with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. And you shall do the same with his donkey, or with his garment, or with any lost thing of your brother's, which he loses and you find. You may not ignore it. You shall not see your brother's donkey or his ox fallen down by the way and ignore them. You shall help him to lift them up again. A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination before the Lord your God. If you come across a bird's nest in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs from the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall let the mother go, but the young you may take for yourself, that it may go well with you and that you may live long. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet for your roof, that you may not bring the guilt of blood upon your house if anyone should fall from it. Verse 9, you shall not sow your vineyard with two kinds of seed, lest the whole yield be forfeited, the crop that you have sown and the yield of the vineyard. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. You shall not wear cloth of wool and linen mixed together. You shall make yourself tassels on the four corners of the garment with which you cover yourself. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, I took this woman, and when I came near her, I did not find her in evidence of virginity. Then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city in the gate. And the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to marry, and he hates her. And behold, he has accused her of misconduct, saying, I did not find in your daughter evidence of virginity. And yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloak before the elders of the city. Then the elders of that city shall take the man and whip him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not divorce her all his days. But if the thing is true, that evidence of virginity was not found in the young woman, then they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Verse 22, if a man is found laying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. If there is a betrothed virgin, and a man meets her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and you shall stone them to death with stones. The young woman, because she did not cry for help, though she was in the city, and the man, because he violated his neighbor's wife. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. But if in the open country a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no offense punishable by death. For this case is like that of a man attacking and murdering his neighbor. Where do I go? There we go. Because he met her in the open country, and though the betrothed young woman cried for help, there was no one to rescue her. 28, if a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife because he has violated her. He may not divorce her all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife so that he does not uncover his father's nakedness. You ready, Gwen?
Yeah.
That would be chapter 23.
Okay.
It's between 22 and 21.
Sorry?
Never.
Just keep going. Okay. Ignore you. Yes. Okay. He who is wounded by crushing of testicles or whose penis is cut off shall not enter into the community of Yahuwah. I'm reading from the scriptures translation if you're wondering. Verse 2. A mamzer, I don't know what that is, shall not enter the community of Yahuwah. Even a 10th generation, he shall not enter the community of Yahuwah. An Amorite or a Moabite shall not enter the assembly of Yahuwah. Even the 10th generation of them that shall not enter the assembly of Yahuwah. Because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out from Mitzrayim, Egypt, and because they hired against you at Balaam, son of Beor, from Peor of Aram, Nahiram, to curse you, but Yahuwah your Elohim refused to listen to Balaam, and Yahuwah your Elohim turned the curse into blessing for you, because Yahuwah your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace, nor their good, oh my gosh, all the days of your life, forever. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe the Egyptian, because you were a stranger in his land. The children of the 3rd generation born to them do enter the assembly of Yahuwah. When the camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is any man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. And it shall be that, and it shall be at the approach of evening that he bathes with water. And when the sun sets, let him come into the midst of the camp. Verse 12. And you shall have a place outside the camp where you shall go out, and you shall have a sharp implement among your equipment. And when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it and turn and cover your excrement. Verse 14. For Yahuwah your Elohim walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over to you. Interesting. Therefore your camp shall be set apart, so that he does not see unclean matter among you, and shall turn away from you. Verse 15. Do not hand over to his master the slave who has escaped from his master to you. Let him dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he chooses within one of your gates, where it is pleasing to him. Do not oppress him. None of the daughters of Israel is to be a cult prostitute, nor any of the sons of Israel be a cult prostitute. Do not bring the harlot fee of a whore or the pay of a dog to the house of Yahuwah your Elohim. For any vowed offering for both of these are an abomination to Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not lend at interest to your brother, interest of silver, interest of food, or interest of whatever is lent at interest. To a foreigner you lend at interest, but to your brother you do not lend at interest, so that Yahuwah your Elohim might bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you are entering into to possess. Verse 21. When you make a vow to Yahuwah your Elohim, do not delay to pay it. For Yahuwah your Elohim is certainly requiring it of you, and it shall be sin in you. But when you abstain from vowing, it is not a sin in you. That which has gone from your lips you shall guard and do, for you voluntarily vow to Yahuwah your Elohim what you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to the satisfaction of your desire, but do not put any in a receptacle of yours. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, you shall pluck the heads with your hand, but do not use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain.
Verse 24. When a man takes a wife and marries her, if then she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some indecency in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out of his house, and she departs out of his house. And if she goes and becomes another man's wife, and the latter man hates her and writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out of his house, or if the latter man dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband, who sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after she has been defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord. And you shall not bring sin upon the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance. When a man is newly married, he shall not go out with the army or be liable for any other public duty. He shall be free at home 1 year to be happy with his wife whom he has taken. No one shall make a mill or an upper millstone in pledge, for that would be taking a life in pledge. If a man is found stealing one of his brothers of the people of Israel, and if he treats him as a slave or sells him, then that thief shall die. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Take care, in the case of leprous disease, to be very careful to do according to all that the Levitical priests shall direct you. As I commanded them, so you shall be careful to do. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam on the way as you came out of Egypt. When you make your neighbor a loan of any sort, you shall not go into his house to collect his pledge. You shall stand outside, and the man to whom you make the loan shall bring the pledge out to you. And if he is a poor man, you shall not sleep in his pledge. You shall restore to him the pledge as the sun sets, that he may sleep in his cloak and bless you. And it shall be righteous for you before the Lord your God. You shall not oppress a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your brothers or one of the sojourners who are in your land within your towns. You shall give him his wages on the same day before the sun sets, for he is poor and counts on it, lest he cry against you to the Lord, and you become guilty of sin. Fathers shall not be put to death because of their children, nor shall children be put to death because of their fathers. Each one shall be put to death for his own sin. You shall not pervert the justice due to the sojourner or the fatherless, or take a widow's garment in pledge. But you shall remain that you were, but you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I command you to do this. When you reap your harvest in your field, and forget a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be for the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive trees, you shall not go over them again. It shall be for the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not strip it afterward. It shall be for the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command you to do this.
Wow. Got welfare right there. All right. Anyways, chapter 25, verse 1. And remember, we're only going down to, 19. Okay. If there is a dispute between men and they come into court, and the judges decide between them, acquitting the innocent and condemning the guilty, then if the guilty man deserves to be beaten, the judge shall cause him to lie down and be beaten in his presence with a number of stripes in proportion to his offense. 40 stripes may be given him, but not more, lest, if one should go on to beat him with more stripes than these, your brother be degraded in your sight. You shall not muzzle an ox when it is treading out the grain. If brothers dwell together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her and take her as his wife and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And the son whom she bears shall succeed to the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. And if the man does not wish to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to perpetuate his brother's name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of a husband's brother to me. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him, and if he persists, saying, I do not wish to take her, then his brother's wife shall go up to him in the presence of the elders and pull his sandal off his foot and spit in his face. And she shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And the name of his house shall be called in Israel, the house of him who had his sandal pulled off. Verse 11, when men fight with one another, and the wife of the one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of him who is beating him, and puts out her hand and seizes him by the private parts, then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye shall have no pity. You shall not have in your bag 2 kinds of weights, a large and a small. You shall not have in your house 2 kinds of measures, a large and a small. A full and fair weight you shall have, a full and fair measure you shall have, that your days may be long in the land, and the Lord your God is giving you. For all who do such things, all who act dishonestly, are an abomination to the Lord your God. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you came out of Egypt, how he attacked you on the way, and you were faint and weary, and cut off your tail, those who were lagging behind you, and he did not fear God. Therefore, when the Lord your God has given you rest from all your enemies around you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance to possess, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget. Who's reading Isaiah? Who was that?
There's only one option. Hang on a second. I have to find the right page because it's in a different location in my scriptures.
Page. Okay, a page is in a different.
Just hang on to your pancakes just a second.
You throw out an awful lot of pancakes for not
eating it.
The rest of the world not having an abundance of syrup.
We're in Canada, remember? Okay, 4:14. Isaiah what? Sorry? 53?
Look at your screen.
Oh, that's so handy. Okay. Just about there. 54, 1 to 10. Oh. Sing, O barren one, you who did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor. For the children of the deserted one are more than the children of the married woman, said Yahuwah. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Spare not, lengthen your cords, and strengthen your stakes. For you shall break forth to the right and to the left, and your seed inherit the nations, and make the deserted cities inhabited. Do not fear, for you shall not be put to shame, nor hurt. You shall not be humiliated. For the shame of your youth you shall forget, and not remember the reproach of your widowhood anymore. For your Maker is your husband, Yahuwah of hosts is his name, and the set-apart one of Israel is your Redeemer. He is called the Elohim of all the earth. For Yahuwah has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, like a wife of youth when you were refused, declares your Elohim. For a little while I have forsaken you, but with great compassion I shall gather you. In an overflow of wrath I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting loving commitment I shall have compassion on you, said Yahuwah your Redeemer. For this is the waters of Noah to me, in that I have sworn that the waters of Noah should never again cover the earth. So I have sworn not to be wroth with you, nor rebuke you. For though the mountains be removed and the hills be shaken, my loving commitment is not removed from you, nor is my covenant of peace shaken, says Yahuwah, who has compassion on you. Ooh.
All right, Matthew 24, 29 through 22. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders. Sorry, I was making sure everything right spell. I'm going to start over. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand. So if they say to you, look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then I will appear in heaven, the sign of the Son of Man. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. From the fig tree learns its lesson as soon as its branches become tender and puts out its leaves. You know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two men will be in a field, one will be taken and one left. Two women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to end this, everybody, and then we're going to meet you over on the Q&A part in about 5 minutes. So make sure you got lots of notes and good questions. 5 minutes, yeah, 5, 5.
That's for me.
Minutos. Okay. All right. Love you all. See you in a few minutes.
Ciao.
Ciao.